So, Dirk, what are these things here you were saying?
Well, I don't know what it's called, but they were laid in the roadbed and covered with sand to stabilize the road, to make it strong enough to back the dump trucks up to the edge, and then the sand would be dumped over where it would be retrieved at the bottom and taken down to the jute tubes to the south of us here.
Oh, so the jute tubes were private.
Yes.
Were privately done for him.
Yeah, I believe this might have been a town effort. I'm not sure who did this because this is a public right-of-way here.
I see.
And but you know, there have been ongoing efforts to the south of us here with the jute bags, and they require constant maintenance, constant filling with sand. And this had been up until very recently the delivery point.
All right, got it. All right, now you represent how do you define what you do?
Well,
on this project here for the geotubes and the.
Well, I represent DirckVanLieu photography. I mean, my wife and I came out here because we liked the beach. We think that this is a unique spot on Nantucket. There's no other spot like this. It's our Grand Canyon. And we came out here as photographers, doing seascapes and landscapes and so on. And we've been shooting the bluff for about 5 years now and watching what's been happening. And the installation of the hard armoring, the geotubes.
Let me stop you for a second.
Sure.
5 years ago, were you just taking photographs of the canyon, as you called it? Or were you doing it to notice the erosion and to chronicle it?
No, we really learned about the erosion after we came here and began shooting.
Okay.
We had not spent much time down here prior to that. We tend to come out in the off season. There's something about really rough weather that gets us outside. And we've shot blizzards and so on out here.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've been out here when it's 18 degrees and blowing 40 or 50 and trying to keep the cameras dry.
And so is it your photography is based mostly on just the way the slopes look and the feeling of the?
No, actually there's a lot to be seen down there. There's I mean, geologically speaking, it's a rare opportunity to see the results of the glaciers and so on. There are fossils that have been dug here that are like 160,000 years old. There's the way that the various sediment, clay, dirt, and all that folds back on itself. There's some really remarkable things to be seen down here. If I may mention, we have on our website a portfolio called Feet of Clay. We came down here one day when the storms had just revealed this incredible panorama on the side of the bluff of all different colors and shapes and materials that was really beautiful.
Wow.
And that's what brought us here. It was not the engineering, it was not the politics, it was the ocean and the beach.
All right, and so tell us about what you found and what your thoughts are on how progress is going on this project.
Well, I probably would hesitate to call it progress. We covered the installation with the cooperation of Jamie Feely and Cottage and Castle, the project manager, and with the SBPF. And we were very close to the action. We were down amongst the machines and we photographed the whole installation. And you know, for my part, my wife was always leery of the whole project. I wanted to see how things went, but we do feel that it's very likely that the erosion has actually increased since the installation. And oddly enough, the real threat currently is erosion from the top. And this was something that I had discounted as minor before I actually came down here and observed it, but while toe erosion is certainly an issue on the bluff, there has not been any significant toe erosion in the last year or so. The only toe erosion you're going to find right now is on the installation itself because it's so much closer to the waves. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that suddenly the bluff is immune to that, but it has not been subject to it for some time. But the erosion from the top is dramatic. I mean,
do you think enough time has passed? So these things are relatively, they just put them in a few months ago, right?
Yeah, but I think that in that, I mean, we've been documenting the changes along the edge here since that time, and it's really been remarkable. We've shot video, we've taken stills showing the dirt sliding down from the top, and you know, we've documented all the stuff on the top that laid on top of the geotubes. You can see the different colors of the clay and the sediment and so on. And we suspect that the erosion from the top has actually increased in these sites, possibly due to the machines, due to the activity up on top.
You mean the dropping of the sand?
Yeah,
trucks?
the trucks, the front end loaders, and so on. There's a lot of weight and a lot of activity. That's not something that I can back up, but I suspect, because it really looks to us, even reviewing our photographs, that a lot more has happened. If you look at we have half a beach that's fairly natural, and we have half a beach that's a construction. And one notable difference is that the water doesn't get up to the top of it, so you don't have the seaweed, the shells, all the things you would find on the beach. It really is. It's an elevated dirt road at this point, in my opinion. And it, we talk about worrying about anytime there's a hard armoring situation, the beach scours in front of it. And the proponents say nourishing the beach is what will preserve it, that we will keep dumping sand over the side. But the beach is already half gone by virtue of being covered by this engineered structure. So that's to me, that's a loss right off the bat.
But what do you say to these folks that are right there that want to save their house and their property?
Well, we're certainly sympathetic to that. I mean, I've been involved in construction and I've been involved in new house construction and renovation and a house move on Baxter Road in my career. And, so we are not oblivious to what that means to people. But on the other hand, we think that when you have a house on the edge of the sea, you're there at the pleasure of the sea. And I think that was something that the proprietors knew, and the man, Mr. Flagg, who subdivided this in the late 1800s, provided for that by including land on both sides of the road, so that when the time came, the houses could be moved. And some of the people involved in this currently still have the land on the other side and can move there. We're not claiming that that's easy or something that one does lightly, but nevertheless, you live on the edge of the ocean at the ocean's pleasure.
Were you at the Concom meeting last night?
Yes, I was.
And so how did it go?
Well, it was mostly dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the findings for the order. And it was a brief meeting because I think people knew where they stood. It was a 4-2 vote. And when they felt that the written findings were in order, then they took the vote and made it official.
And so what was that official announcement? What's going to happen?
Well, I think what will happen now, in the absence of an appeal, and of course there'll be no such absence, they would most likely order the tubes to be taken out. However, it's not felt that that's constructive, given that there'll be an appeal, and then an appeal would probably produce a stay against the removal. And so I would imagine, this is my own speculation, that they will wait until the appeal period is up and see what develops during that time.
How bad would it be if we just left them in for now? Just to see, take a little more time.
I think
and see what happens. We don't really know for sure.
I think that would answer a few questions, but it would not answer some very important questions. It would tell you whether or not, if we had some major storms, which we have not had yet, whether there was any material protection provided. It will show you what happens as the bluff erodes onto the top of the tubes. We would get a chance to see what the scouring might be like, and we would get a chance to see what the replenishment would be like. But the questions, to my mind, that won't be answered is how long will there be a will to spend a tremendous amount of money and to dump a lot of sand over the side, sand which incidentally I do not consider compatible with the sand at this location, and the Concom found that as well, that this is pit sand from the middle of the island. It has none of the materials in it that the bluff has naturally.
Why would the Concom be so strict about the difference in the sand? I mean, it all comes from the same island.
Well, there's a great deal of difference between what you'd find in the bank right here and probably what you'd find a mile away on the same place, and certainly in the middle. There's the size of the grains of sand. I mean, this
okay.
Sounds like nitpicking,
yeah.
but the big difference is how, when the bluff, or when any beach contributes its sand to the sea and it moves throughout the littoral cell, how it's transported. Big heavy grains probably go out and just drop. Lighter stuff is going to travel more. This will have an effect on beaches up and down the coast here. The people that have houses to the north of us are quite concerned about what's going to happen, and they're not necessarily wanting to wait and see what happens, because if there's a negative impact on their bit of coastline, how would that be undone? And,
Right.
To the south, you have a similar situation. I've heard that maybe 80% of what is contributed from this bank here travels northward and 20% southward. And it's a very dynamic situation. The bluff falls into the sea and it moves in other places, and beaches are created by erosion. No erosion, no beach.
Okay, I think I got where you're coming from now, Dirk. You know, they want to build, this was just the first step in 3 that they wanted to do. So if it was up to you in wrap up, you say pull them out and let the beach erode and let beaches do what they do.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That is correct, and I think that the beaches are one of Nantucket's great resources. It's one of the reasons that people come here. It's one of the reasons that we live here. And I think that one cannot decide to sacrifice our beaches for the sake of a short stretch of road and the houses that are on that road.
Okay, well thank you so much, Dirk.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Gino.